Hi there, welcome to LitBits, tips and tricks to help your child get better at reading and writing at home. My name is Tamara Martin Spady. I'm a literacy consultant for Elk Island Public Schools. I work with a lot of kids who want to get better at reading and writing. I thought I'd make some videos so that parents could work with their children and do some of these things at home. So here we go. Today's LitBit tip is all about vocabulary. Now, some of you may have seen this before. Sometimes teachers send this home talking to you about the importance of home reading. Now, the reason that this is so important is actually about vocabulary. These stats show that the more reading kids spend at home, the bigger their vocabulary becomes. So if I read on this chart 33.4 minutes each day, in 1 year I've encountered 2,357,000 words that year. So obviously my vocabulary gets bigger, the amount of reading I've done increases, and it does show there's a correlation between reading test scores. Reading to your kids, doing their home reading, exposing them to vocabulary and different words is so important for comprehension. If they don't have any familiarity with what the word is that they're reading about, it's hard for them to understand. So here's some things you can do at home when you're reading to your kids. We're going to take a book. It's called How I Met My Monster by Amanda Knoll. And it's going to cover me up for a second, and we're going to just read that first page. So it says, "One night when I reached under my bed for my truck, I found this note instead. Monsters, meet here for final test." Ah! My parents were obviously trying to trick me into staying in bed. I didn't believe in monsters. Now, when I think about what I could do there wasn't a ton of difficult vocabulary that I thought my child or student couldn't understand. But if I look at that picture, there's a lot of things going on in there, and kids love to find these things and talk about them. So what we can do is we can say, oh, look it, he's in his room and he's got a lot of stuff in there. Let's build their vocabulary by just naming some things we've got around this little guy's bedroom. So we've got a special kind of truck. I don't know, is that a backhoe or a digger? See, there's something I could even learn. Lots of the kids will know these ones. We could Google that and find out what it is. We've got puzzles. Hopefully your kids they know what puzzles are, or puzzle pieces. We can give them that vocabulary. We've got a globe here, which kids don't often see in their bedrooms anymore. We just use Google Maps. But globe is something that it's a good one to know because it probably will be encountered in a lot of storybooks that they read. We've also got some Kleenex here, which that's normally what kids call it, but maybe we could say, you know, it's also called tissue. And we could go through that whole bedroom and build up their vocabulary by pointing out some of the different items in the room. On this page it says, "So I crumpled the paper, grabbed my truck, and zipped over to my garage. I heard some creaking and rumbling, but I wasn't scared. Our house always made noises at night. But then a voice under the bed scolded, 'Stop that stomach rumbling. The child will hear you.'" Voices? Stomach rumbling? If this was part of my parents' trick, it was pretty cool. I peered into the inky blackness. 5 pairs of eyes blinked back. "See, now he knows you're here," the voice sighed. "One of you has broken monster rule number 1. Maintain the element of surprise. This is no trick," I thought. "There are monsters under my bed." A whole lot of vocabulary in that one. So some of the things I can do is, as I'm reading, I can just stop and say, do you know what inky blackness is? Why do you think they call it inky blackness? Why would that make sense? I can say, do you know what scolded means? Have I ever scolded you? Scold me about something. You didn't clean your room this morning. I can also do things like pull specific words. This one has a lot of action words. Crumpled, grabbed, zipped. And I could say to my child, oh, wait, as we're reading that one, let's act it out. Let's crumple something, let's grab something, and let's zip something. Those are great ways to build some vocabulary. I also noticed in this one there were some sound words like creeping and rumbling. Could we make those sounds together? What would a creak sound like? What would a rumble sound like? And then the obvious thing to do is talk about those words or even terms that might be over your child's head. Maintain, what does maintain mean? That means to keep something. So let's read that sentence again, and instead of saying maintain, we'll say keep. Now do you see what they mean? What do I mean by element of surprise? What does that mean? And you can explain all those. There was a ton of vocabulary in that book. As I'm reading this to my child and talking about vocabulary, this book has a lot, and lots of books do. So I want to read this book more than one time. Maybe I read this one a few times. If my child loved this one, maybe read this one every night that week, and as we go through, we pick something different to talk about. Let's talk about all of the words that are noisy words, like creeping and rumbling. Let's talk about all the hard words. I could pick a new idea each read. And then another thing you can do is just something I call everyday vocabulary. So in our spoken language, we don't tend to use a lot of different words. Like I'll always say, to my husband, oh, I'm just going to run to the store. And then he'll always say to me, run, you're going to run, you're not going to drive. So hilarious. But when we say, I'm going to run to the store, we could say, I'm going to zip over to the store. I'm going to make a dash to the store. We could just, when we're talking to our kids, use those different kinds of words. Here's a funny example. My nephew is in kindergarten, and we were over there the other day, and he came in and he gave me a hug, and I said, oh, it's so nice to see you. Can you also give me a nice little smackaroo right on my cheek? And he hesitated for a moment, and then he wound up and smacked me as hard as he could across my face. And then everybody yelled at him, you can't hit Auntie Tamara. And he looked really surprised, and then I quickly put it together and thought, oh my gosh, he's thinking smack, like, why would my Auntie Tamara want me to smack her across the face? But I guess if she's asking me to do it, I'm going to do it. So we had to explain to him a smackaroo actually means a really good kiss right on the cheek. So learning moment right there. Use as many times as you can to use different expressions around your home to talk about simple words. Can I say something instead of walk? Can I say something instead of grab? Can I use other idioms or different slang expressions or popular sayings that we use in our society? Just really build that vocabulary, because we do know kids who have a really rich vocabulary do a lot better at comprehending the text that they're reading. And that's our LitBit for today. Thanks for joining.